Oh my god, guys, hi, welcome back. So first off, hello, welcome. If you are new here, my name is Cheyenne. I am a costumer, seamstress, craft person, and this is where I just make weird stuff to keep from going insane. So I had the last couple of weeks off of work. We finished a show at the ballet, and then we usually have a little bit of downtime before we have to start prepping costumes for the next one. And it's really great for me because I will like work, and then have some time to kind of decompress. And I spent some of that time making content for this channel, working on costumes, unpacking stuff in the apartment, but with the rest of the free time that I have been putting in hours on Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
Butters, you said you're on your computer all the time.
Yeah, but I'm playing Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
I mean, honestly, I don't know if I can remember a time that I wasn't a Sanrio girly. I have vivid memories of getting really obsessed with Hello Kitty starting in maybe the 3rd or 4th grade. So I've always been a Sanrio girly my whole life. I absolutely jokingly tell my guy friends sometimes that if you want to pull baddies, you have to know who all of the Sanrio characters are, because I have never met a baddie who does not have deep feelings about Sanrio characters. I don't know why, but that just is the case in my experience. And my husband is a pom-pom prin guy, right? Every time that I see a cute pom-pom prin, I'm like, it's you. And while I love Hello Kitty, I love all the Sanrio characters, in my heart, I have always been, and will probably always be, a Kuromi girly. I love Kuromi. I love her so much. I love that she's kind of like a jester a little bit. I love her kind of like cute but spooky aesthetic. I'm somebody who, as you can probably tell from my outfit today and the stuff in here, that duality is a big part of me, right? I love Barbies and pink and cute stuff, but I also watch the Saw movies to relax and got married on Halloween. So like that dichotomy is something that I think Kuromi really embodies and really celebrates. And so that's why she will probably always be my favorite Sanrio character. It also doesn't help that a lot of the time, like this is a pink Kuromi plushie that I have, but it also helps that a lot of the time she is in black, pink, and purple, and those are some of my favorite colors in the whole world. So like she's just for me. She's for the girlies. And I have had this idea for a little bit. I have a little bit of time today, and I've got just to work on a scrap project. And I have been wanting to make myself one of those kind of like vintage cat ear hoods, but Kuromi for a little bit. So today's gonna be the day that we do it. I have made vintage hoods like this a couple of times. I have a Piero one that has no ears at all, and then I have a devil one. I also used a bonnet pattern to kind of use as my base for my Harley Quinn headpiece when I made that. So I've absolutely done a couple different versions of this pattern before. I know it's something I can knock out in an afternoon, which is always nice. And I have the perfect scraps for it. A good sized piece of velvet left over from when I made my Candyman Halloween costume last year. And I was thinking that this would be perfect to make a Kuromi hood with. And then I also have some black satin left over from, I'm not even sure what, to be honest. I don't remember what this is from. But that means that I can have it be satin lined, which is even better, because then I can wear it if I'm having a bad hair day and just kind of give my hair a break and have a little satin lined bonnet on. And it's like cute and alternative and like very much my vibe. And I'm really excited about it. I did spend a little money for this project. I know I said it was going to be a scrap buster project. Are you ready for what I spent money on? I spent a whole $2 at Joann's and picked up one piece of pink felt. I figure this is gonna be perfect for me to make the skull applique. I'm just gonna try to sketch out and figure out the shape of the ear, but other than that, I think I could do this in my sleep. If I have enough of this, I might try to also make a collar, because Kuromi has a hood, but she also has a little jester collar. And I also have some pastel pom-poms, so I could absolutely make the little collar that she has with the little pink pom-poms on it as well. But I want to make sure that I get the hood completely finished first, and I have enough. And then if I have enough left then I will try to make a matching collar. That's my thought process. So let's get over to the table and start cutting stuff out. All right, so obviously the first step is going to be cutting everything out. I am using the Devil Hood pattern by Sylvia's Patterns on Etsy. I'm specifically using the pointed hat variation. There's a variation for a round hood and one for a pointed hood, but I have to do the pointed hood. I just think it looks so much funner. The pattern calls to cut 4. I'm cutting 2 out of my velvet and 2 out of my satin because we're using the satin as a lining. So that's the reason that we're doing it that way. I did make a few very small tweaks to this pattern because I've made it a couple of times in the past. I decided to emphasize the point on the middle part so that I could get a little bit more of a severe point in the center, and I also widened the ties a little bit just because I like a slightly bigger, fatter bow when I tie it into a bow, so I made them just a tiny bit wider, but that's me. Next, to get the shape for the skull applique, I printed out just like a little JPEG of Kuromi's little skull emblem and used that as my pattern to make a little pink skull applique. Then from there, it was time to take everything over to the sewing machine. To start, I decided to put my 2 head pieces together. So the middle and the 2 sides of the velvet bonnet and the middle and the 2 sides of the satin bonnet, because I wanted to be able to have that middle completely constructed for when it was time to add the skull applique to it without a bunch of other stuff in the way. So I didn't put the ties on yet at this point or anything like that. And then for the skull, I decided to add in the little teeth by just using a really thin, really close together zigzag stitch. And that's also what we're going to use to attach the skull like an applique. This is a little tricky, especially because this is relatively small, but it's really one of those things where I just had to take my time and really focus and just try to get it as clean as I could. Thankfully, because I was just using black, it kind of blended into the background, so I did have to go over 1 or 2 spots twice to make sure there was no pink peeking through, but in the end, I think it turned out really, really cute. The eyes were the real challenge here because they were so small. In the future, if I did something like this, maybe I would just paint those details on because this was just annoying, to be honest. Then once the skull was attached, it was time to add the ties to both. So I sewed the velvet ties to the velvet hood and the satin lining ties to the lining hood. Then it was time to put them both together. So basically, I just put right sides together, satin with velvet, and sewed along the whole thing with an opening for me to turn it inside out. I left my opening space at the back of the head. I probably did it a little bit wider than the pattern calls for. I left like a 3-inch gap just because I knew it would be easier for me to reach in there and turn it and make sure all the points turned out the way that I wanted. But that's really just a question of what's comfortable for you when it comes to turning something right sides out. Then from there, it was time to turn the entire thing out. This was actually trickier for me than it normally is because normally I have long nails on. So when I want to turn points inside out, I'm able to use my nails to just kind of get in there and poke through and get the point nice and sharp. Since I didn't have my nails on like normal and I couldn't find my point turner, getting the edges of those ends really crisp was a little bit tricky, but it was absolutely worth it in the end. Just take your time, you can do it. And this pattern didn't have any really teeny tiny tubes anyway, so it could have been way worse. And then if I had made this out of any other fabric, at this point I would press everything to get everything nice and clean and crisp. But because you can't press velvet, I'm top stitching the whole way around instead to help keep it flat and crisp. Now that the hood is done, it's time for the ears. I just kind of tried to freehand the shape of Kuromi's little ears. I used my plush as a reference, cleaned that up a tiny bit, and then from there we cut it out of the last of our velvet. I was so bummed I did not have enough to do a collar, but it's not the end of the world. And then to make sure that they would stand up well enough, I used this really thick interfacing that I had left over from a project. I hoard interfacing like it's the last thing that I'm ever going to see because it's always nice to have little scraps for weird little projects like this. And then to kind of attach it in there, I flatlined one piece each for each ear with the interfacing on my serger. That way it just stays together in there as one piece and I don't have to worry about it coming out. And then it also just is nice and clean. It's just the easiest way to do it in my opinion. Then from there, all I had to do was sew my earpieces together. I sewed them along 4 of the sides and left the bottoms open so that I could turn those inside out the same way that we turned the bonnet out. These, in theory, should have been easier to turn out because there was a bigger opening, but because that interfacing was so stiff, it was still a little bit of a struggle. Again, I wish I knew where my point turner was. It would have made this process so much easier, but hey, what are you gonna do? We got them the way that we wanted them in the end, and that's really all that matters. Having tools is nice, but figuring it out is always an option. No matter what you have, you can always do what you want to do with it. Next up, Kuromi has pom-poms on the ends of her ears, and I realized I didn't have any black ones, but I did have pastel ones and black fabric paint. So, fun fact, trying to fabric paint a pom-pom, like spray paint like this, is so hard. Thankfully, that washed off. I was real worried for a second there. And while that dries, we're going to attach our ears. I decided to just whip stitch the bottoms closed first. At first, I wasn't sure if I was going to, but it just made it easier because then I didn't have to worry about any of the serging showing or anything like that, and it just made them a little bit more stable. And then I took both of them and I just whip stitched them to the bonnet. I did one side, basically I whip stitched the fronts and the backs of both to make sure they were really secure. Honestly, I probably could have used a slip stitch for this and that might have been a little bit cleaner, but in all this black you can't see the stitches at all, so it wasn't a huge deal either way. And then since I didn't have a collar, I decided that I wanted to kind of honor that anyway. And I added a pink pom-pom each to each of the ends of the bow tie pieces. I felt like that would still give that little bit of like clownish whimsy without having to be the whole collar. I haven't decided how married to that I am. So eventually I might take them off and just make a collar if I have some extra fabric. And then we added our pom-poms. This was the same deal. I just whip stitched them on. I did notice when I sewed them, some of the pink was showing through, but at that point, I just took a Sharpie and filled in any really large pink shots that were showing because it was just, I wanted it done at that point, to be completely honest with you. But I think it was well worth the time. Okay, it's done. It's done. We're trying it on. I'm excited. Okay. Okay. I ate this up, I fear. Oh, it's so cute. And then this is, I just have to tie this into my little bow. I will say, not the hugest deal. Honestly, it might be good for concerts and stuff. My hearing in here is just the tiniest bit muffled. Like I can hear myself, but it's a tiny bit muffled. Okay, this is so cute though. You can't tell me this is not cute. This is so cute. The way that I'm gonna wear this out anytime I don't want to do my hair, and people are gonna think I'm really dressed up, but I really just don't want to do my hair. I'm really pleased with how this came out. The pom-poms look really cute. These guys look really good. The skull looks really good. This is, I will say, I think that I extended this out a little too much because now there's like a disconnect there. But from the front, it's giving the shape I want, and honestly, that's kind of all I care about. If I'm ever wearing it somewhere and I really want it to stick down, I can always like put a piece of double-sided tape there. I am really happy with it. I really would have loved to be able to also make a collar. I might do that in the future maybe, but I am really living. Like I'm really, dude, I know I said it before, I'm a Leo, I'm very full of myself. This is not helping. I'm really excited. I feel like this will be really cute to wear in like punk ways. It'd also be really cute to wear in like a gothic Lolita outfit. I'm very, very pleased with myself. What do we think? What do we think? I am obsessed with this. I think this looks so cute. So cute! Oh my god! Ah! All right, well, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to link the pattern that I used as my base for this down in the description. So if you would like to make your own, you can just go ahead and do that, and you will have to pattern this part yourself. But I mean, you saw me draw it out. It's not that hard. You can do it. And if you do make one, I would love, love, love to see it. Please tag me in it. All my socials are down there. If you enjoyed your time here, this is a teeny tiny baby channel. I'm doing a fresh start. Please like, subscribe, do all of the things. It costs you literally nothing, and it brings me a lot of joy and helps boost my little Leo ego to the place that it feels like it needs to be at. And I'll see you next time. Until then, you are so special and so wonderful, and you are loved, and I'm so happy that we're friends. All right, I'll see you next time.